better like this? Turtle. Actually, my name is Terrence. My brother will never tell a story this well. My brother was devastatingly truthful growing up. We were walking through our neighborhood in Dorchester when we were kids, and we were approached by two much larger and older. They must have been at least 16, and we were tykes. And they threw us up against the wall, and they said, "Give us your money." To which I responded, "We don't have any money." And my brother grabs me by the arm and says, "Yes, we do." Uh, so I got a scar down my face from that encounter. And I could never figure out if my brother was just devastatingly honest when it was going to involve hurting me, or if this is the way that he operated in the world in general. We were born in Milwaukee, and so part of the rivalry was I always felt like I could never kind of reach the pinnacle of pain that he had inflicted on my parents, because he had actually, due to his gestational period, he had got my mother kicked out of college because she wasn't married. So that was a bar that I fought to sort of achieve my whole life. I never made it. She held down jobs and everything, even though I tried to get her fired. So we're in Milwaukee, and my brother, my earliest memories of him were we had a big box, a refrigerator box that I think my dad had found somewhere, and we played in it. And I just remember my brother constantly pushing me out of the box. I remember we were in a high-rise, and he would take whatever I had that was important to me, like a sock, because that was important, and he would throw it out the window. And he would just say, "I'm doing this to help you." And it just never made any sense to me. So we bounced around. We went from Wisconsin, then we went over to Michigan, and we would vacation back at home in Dorchester because it's lovely. And so then finally we wound up in Montpelier, and that was probably the nadir. I mean, I will never. So again, for the rivalry part, my brother and I were sharing a bed, and my brother would take all the blankets, and it was freaking cold in Montpelier. I mean, just like unbelievably cold. And he would take all the blankets, and I was smaller than he was, and he would just say, "I'm doing this for your own good. This is going to make you tougher." So then time passed, and we were back in Dorchester, and things weren't going very well. They weren't going well for me. They weren't going well for my brother. They weren't going well for my dad or my mom. And my dad came home one night, and I remember him sitting down and just saying, "Listen, I've got some big news. I want to share this with you." And like, okay. He never does this. My father was a man of very, very, very few words. Like, if you're eating with him, he wouldn't say please or hand me. He would just kind of reach out and take it. It was as if like a crone had whispered in his ear, "You've only got 50 words for your entire life. Don't waste them on pleasantries." And so when he said he wanted to tell us something, we were like, "Oh, this is big." And so he says, "We're moving. We're getting out of Savin Hill," and that was great news. And I said, "Well, where are we going?" And he says, "Well, it's this beautiful place. There are a lot of trees, and there's grass, and kids are nice to each other, and I think I have a job at the incinerator plant, and things are looking up." And I said, "What is this magical place called?" And he says, "It's Fall River." And I remember thinking, God, that's such a beautiful name. There's so much water, it just falls. This must be like Mecca. I can't wait to get there. And then we did, and it was just the worst place ever. There are very few places on the earth that make you pine for Savin Hill, but that was like it. And but it was that summer that a lot of things kind of changed. my brother, we got down there the very first week, and my brother was riding a bike. Actually, he was on the back of a bike. He wasn't wearing any shoes, and his heel got caught in the spokes going downhill, and there was blood and bone and everything. Took him in, and I was home. My mom was out. My dad was at the incinerator plant, and so I was trying to take care of him, which consisted of me now visiting all the suffering on him that he had been visiting on me. So I just literally put him in the house and just told him to suck it up, Buttercup. So then that got infected, and then he had to treat that for about a month. The day that he got better, I said, hey, let's just go play tag in the brown field filled with industrial waste. And so we did that, and my brother got a nail through his foot. And right through it. Just all the way through the sneaker, all the way up. And it was disgusting. And it was the other foot. So that got infected. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And I was enjoying it so much. And I felt like such a jerk for enjoying it. And I kept thinking, like, why am I enjoying this? And I'm like, because he's kind of a jerk to me. And it was that summer that I also got the sense of physicality that all kids get, and I could beat him up, and that was the end. And I kept, after the first time I beat him up and I held him down, and I was vicious with him, and I remember afterwards just this catharsis, just like, wow, I just beat the crap out of my tormentor, and I thought, like, what good was that? Why this is just such an empty feeling. And I kept thinking, like, why am I doing this? What am I supposed to be getting from? It's like Romulus and Remus. Do I have to kill my brother? Am I Rome? And then you're thinking, like, well, at least we're not the Melendez brothers. And time. Okay. And so anyway, I still love him, and I beat him up, and there you go. That's my time.